Well, good evening. I am Jenny from Heart of a Mother, and tonight we are doing a Bloom homeschooling Q&A with my dear friends and fellow consultants, Amy and Stacy. And so we are here tonight to answer your questions. Some mamas sent us questions in advance to answer tonight, and so we'll be doing that. And then this video will go up on the YouTube channel so that everybody can see all the wisdom that is shared, if any wisdom is shared at night on a Thursday in a tough week, right? Let's be real. But before we do that and dive into the questions, I wanted to introduce Amy and Stacy. Most of you know me, I hope, but my name is Jenny, and I've been homeschooling for over 15 years. I have 4 kids, just graduated my oldest in May, and then my youngest is 3rd grade. So we've been doing this the whole time and enjoying it. And I just love what we've built with Heart of a Mother and Bloom and the connections that we get to make with mamas and just sharing the joy that is homeschooling and helping each other through the struggles and challenges that is homeschooling too. So I am glad that you are here listening, whether on the call or on the YouTube channel. And Amy is here in Texas. Actually, we're all in Texas now that I think about it, because Stacy came to Texas. Amy has 5 kids from preschool to high school and has been homeschooling them for forever too. Amy is awesome at keeping it simple and doable, but really giving her kids an excellent classical education. So I'm always inspired by Amy's ideas and encouragement and finding ways to make different resources work in the way that works for her family. She was a teacher who never thought she would homeschool. And I know many of us are in that camp where we fell into this and are surprised by it, but happily, I think. And Stacy is an Army wife, and she has a newborn all the way up to 14. Is that right?
Yes. Oh, he'll be 15. He'll be 15 next month.
Okay, so really close. So
yes.
She has got a range of kiddos that she has homeschooled, and she has done a variety of curricula as well. I know she loves Mother of Divine Grace and Catholic Heritage and all those. Stacy is our go-to gal when we want to talk about learning differences, especially dyslexia. She has great experience and knowledge, self-taught based on that challenge. And she's just been a great gift to our community as well, bringing energy and joy and all the things. So I'm super glad to have both of you here. And I'm going to just start peppering you with questions, if that's okay.
Fire away.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so submitted by a mama. I'll read it exactly as she wrote it. She wrote, how to transition back into homeschooling after a break from all routine, like from an extended illness or having a newborn or things like that. So ladies, what has worked for you in various stages when you're trying to get back into homeschooling after a big life event?
Oh man, that was me this week. The baby, so he is 4 weeks old today. And he's number 6. And we basically took 3 weeks off, except for my high schooler, because their workload is a little bit, bigger than everybody else's workload. But depending on the depending on why you took the break, because I took the break because I had a baby, I'm exhausted. I think that determines how you transition. So in my case, it's tiny little baby steps. Tiny little baby steps, because I have only so much energy and so much brain power, and I also have to recuperate physically. So I would encourage the mom who's taking a break because of some sort of like medical or physical, transition, or situation, baby steps. absolute baby steps, like one subject at a time. Because you don't want to interrupt your recovery. I mean, I know you probably want to jump right in, you want to get back to the routine, but if it's like a physical thing, oh man, or even if you're mentally exhausted, you don't want to, like one step forward, two steps back kind of situation. So I would say baby steps, one subject at a time, or maybe one little block of time, like getting back to the like typical morning breakfast chore routine that you would do, and then add a subject, just one little thing.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us kind of what that looks like this week for you?
This week this week was more, so this week was kind of like me getting my bearings, like I opened my planner back up again, things like that, laid out everything to see where we were in each subject. So I spent like Monday and Tuesday doing that, like figuring out where we left off. After just getting back to the normal morning of like breakfast, send the old one to walk the dog, the laundry, and outside time, and then settling into schoolwork. And that's all that we just kind of did. And we've done like a couple of subjects, but I'm taking it subject by subject. Like I caught them all up. I wanted to start with something fun, so I caught them all up with science first. Like I figured out where we had left off, and then just kind of caught them up, Yeah. So we're going just like subject by subject. And then today we caught up on grammar and writing. And that's going to be it. Tomorrow is going to be like, okay, where are we again in math?
Right.
Where are we? Like,
yeah, I think you make a really good point that those habits and routines, like the morning routine, is a part of that transition. And we can't, like, that's something that is a baby step.
Right.
Like just getting that part back to
absolutely.
Routine.
And I needed to see how we did that with a new baby in the house. You know what I mean? I can't go back to our old schedule because we have a new person existing with, who's has all these demands and needs, and he needs to get fed and changed, and I have to pump, and the toddler is having a tantrum. And so it's like, you want to just start really, really small.
Right. See how
and
it goes.
Figure out what your new normal is going to look like. But yeah, I think the big part was just getting back to the same morning routine that we do, plus one subject. And that's
okay.
So I mean, that's like our plan.
That's what works for you guys. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Amy, do you have any perspective on that?
Very similar to what Stacy said. We try to start with one or two subjects. I like her idea of doing something fun. I usually go with the standard reading and math, but I think the fun thing is really smart. We'll start with reading and math to get those under our belt, and we'll do that for a week. And then I'll add in another subject, and we'll do that for a week. If there's anything my kids do together, I'll try to add that in either at the beginning to see how we can do it, or I'll add it in after we've done everything else. I've done it both ways, and it just depends. One practical tip that's been really helpful is to kind of get your bearings, like Stacy said at the beginning of the week, and don't actually start any subjects until Thursday or Friday, because then you can start with your baby step school schedule on Thursday and Friday, and then you only have to do it for 2 days, and then over the weekend you can troubleshoot all the things that you need to fix, and hopefully adjust that before you start again on Monday. And that's just a little thing that's helped us. And then it's not homeschooling per se, but it's definitely the home part. Get the snacks figured out, get lunches figured out, get your meals figured out, get your laundry situation under control, because if those things are taken care of, then the other stuff can run more smoothly. So that's one thing that's helped us, especially snack time. They all want snacks, and
all the time.
Food is important.
Food is very important. Yes.
I love it.
And there's like other things like I didn't even anticipate, like in this month, this 3 weeks, this month that we took off, the weather has dipped. So now it's like, where are the sweaters? Like, where are the windbreakers? Like, suddenly, like our morning was like disrupted because my kids, who I would normally send outside right after breakfast, they're like, it's cold. And I'm like, where's your Huggle pet? Like put out that thing. They have a little Huggle pet, So it's just like how Amy said, like troubleshoot. You need to troubleshoot.
Yeah. So. And that's so true. I found that as well, that it's really, you have to take those little baby steps, because it's like dipping your toe in the water and seeing what happens, and then adjusting, because any kind of transition, whether it's new baby, illness, medical or not, or a move, our big transitions have been moving. And you know how that goes too, but it's a total new normal. You don't really know what's going to work. And so if you go head first and try to just launch, it's not going to go well. So
you might even have your books unpacked yet to be able to launch. So
this is true. This is true. So just a little bit at a time, and getting your brain around things and taking your time with it is really wise. Because I think I've tried in the past that just, we got to get going, just do it all. And it's a complete disaster, and nobody's happy, and nothing works. And then I can't figure out what doesn't work, because I just did it all, and it all doesn't work.
Right.
But if you do take it slowly, that's helpful. I think the other thing that's helped me is, when we have a transition like that, is to take those planning days, like Stacy said, and to really think through what might work or how things might need to be adjusted. And often to talk that over with someone who's maybe an outside perspective and can help me see if I'm kind of crazy or not. Because we just, a lot of times we're motivated by feeling behind, or feeling like, especially if it was an unplanned like break, like an illness or something, we can fall into the habit of just being motivated by trying to get it all done, trying to get all caught up as quickly as we can, which in some cases we do have to do that. But as I said, I love that idea of a planning time and being cautious and slow with it, so that it can be more successful in the end. Those are really good points. Cool.
It's a long game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Well, and the beauty of homeschooling too is that we get to set our own schedule. So you have, if you take a break, then you can continue schooling when other people aren't schooling, or you can just do longer school days, do a school day in the morning and the afternoon. If you have little kids and you're usually done early, maybe you do something fun and rejuvenate, and then do something, in the afternoon. So,
or take Saturdays. When my husband worked weekends, we'd sometimes do school on Saturday, because why not?
Yeah.
What else are we gonna do?
Yeah. If your Thursday was trash,
Exactly. We have lots of flexibility. So so that would be my final thing, is just not to stress too much about it, because you are going to be fine. I have several friends who had to take really, really long breaks. Even one family had to take like a whole year off, and they did very minimal schooling, but their kids were fine. They figured it out. They filled in the gaps. They kept going. It's just whatever is needed for that family at that time. So let's move on to the next question, because we're good answers. This one's a little simpler, maybe. How can you easily make your own worksheets and printables so you don't have to constantly seek them out? Now, I'm guessing this depends on what type of worksheet or printable you're looking for, but maybe you guys have some ideas and resources on making your own, and how that would, I guess, tools for helping with that.
I've done some on Word. If you want to make it pretty, you can use Canva, because there's fun little text boxes and fonts and pictures and images, and that's super fun. If you want to just purchase some already made, Teachers Pay Teachers has a lot of great options. And sometimes you could just put in like free printable blah 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 worksheet in Google, and it will pop up a bunch of stuff for you to print. Those are great for like math drills and stuff like that. Alternatively, consider why you want to make worksheets, because it's very much a school thing, and it's not necessarily something you may need to do for homeschooling. One thing that we've found very helpful, it's kind of worksheety but not schoolish, is to do notebooking pages. And basically what that is your kid draws a picture of what you learned about on like just a big text box. And then you have lines for them or for you, depending on the age of your kid, to write in whatever they remember from what they learned about it. And that's a great way to have a record of what you've done and what they learned and what they remember, but it's not a very multiple choice fill in the blank rote answer thing that doesn't necessarily test their understanding or their long-term memory of what they actually learned. So.
Right. Great perspectives. Yeah, that's a really good point. That was one of the things I was going to add was, do you need a worksheet or a printable, or is there another way you can do it, either in a notebooking page or just orally and just have them tell you what they learned? A lot of times worksheets are used because it's a large classroom. You can't like talk one-on-one.
Right.
I find, especially with younger kids up to like 4th or 5th grade, they don't need to write a whole bunch of stuff down. They just, you know, we can have a conversation about it, unless it's math or handwriting. Those, of course, you have to write, you know, numbers and practice handwriting, but usually whatever resource I'm using program has those pages already. So
I want to point out too that some moms, like when they're using something that comes with worksheets, they just put them in page protectors. And when your kid uses them, they just use dry erase markers.
Which is way more fun anyways.
Right. So I guess like I'm not knowing why they want more worksheets. Like if the issue is you don't want to keep buying a workbook for every single kid, then put it in a page protector and use the dry erase marker. Or I also wanted to point out that a lot of programs come with worksheet generators, like Matthew C has a worksheet generator. Handwriting Without Tears, you can pay extra for that license to make your own worksheets to practice handwriting. So that might be an option depending on what program you're using. I think Math Mammoth, you can print out. I mean, a lot of programs are already like a PDF, so you would just print out more. So it's hard to say without knowing the motivation as to why they want the worksheets. Right. I mean, if they feel like the creative impulse to create something, you know, like they're feeling creative, then I guess that's different. You know, I'd probably buy a program or something too.
Right. Okay. Well, if the mama who asked that question is watching this and wants to either drop in the comments or email me, then we will give you more specific tips if
we'll
we
give
didn't
you
cover
more.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. So here's a question we get asked a lot, being that Heart of a Mother is Catholic homeschooling moms, and that is our focus, is our Catholic faith. And how do we incorporate the Catholic faith into our everyday lives, into our homeschooling? What does that look like in your household?
That depends on the amount of energy I have.
Valid answer.
Yes.
I mean, right? Or, you know, how much time you want to put into it. Or, I mean, I know moms who are just like, as long as they have like a coloring page and then they just talk about like the feast day or whatever liturgical holiday is coming up, then I mean, that's fine. And then some moms go all out and, you know, we're all like, oh, you know, FOMO, and I need to make a little devil shaped piñata for Michaelmas, and I need to make like all of these things. I mean, I honestly don't think you do, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Right. Do what brings you joy, what fills you and helps you and your family be.
What works for you, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think a coloring page or I mean, if you have a little saint book with all of the different saints in there and you manage to remember to read about a saint on their feast day, that's all you do, then good for you.
Right. Yeah, there's really a lot of resources for incorporating the liturgical year and the saints. And it can be as simple as a coloring page or listening to a podcast. I know Catholic Sprouts is really good, or going all out and making recipes and crafts and things that you can find on Catholic Icing and Catholic Cuisine and all those websites for the liturgical year itself.
Right.
I think that I'm not great with liturgical year stuff. We keep that really simple.
Mhm.
But what we do is we pray and we
Mhm.
talk about our faith. And a lot of times at lunch, we'll play something, audio or a video that's like faith related, a little lesson thing. And even that, just bringing the Catholic faith into conversation is part of our daily lives all day long, not just on Sundays or after school hours. It's just incorporated. And of course, we use some Catholic materials in our homeschooling as well. So
Right.
that gets plugged in. We're reading the Bible, we're talking about religion, so that gets plugged in as well. And there's lots of ways kind of throughout the day. I like to, I'm more of a, instead of doing a big saint celebration, I'd rather like say a morning prayer, then we'll talk about something mid-morning and at lunch, and then we'll pray in the afternoon and at bedtime together, and just make it an ongoing simple thing. That's what works for our family. Because
Right.
I'm just not the crafty,
Yeah.
creative
Like,
type.
I think your family culture is probably going to like influence what kind of liturgical activities or like incorporating your Catholic faith like into your family. I think your family culture or like temperaments, different things like that factor in to what you decide to do.
Right. Like my kids hate coloring pages, so that doesn't
Right.
work for us.
But then but then some other family is like, that's all they want to do. They want to color
Right.
all day long. And it's like, I think the lesson probably is there's no wrong way to do it.
Right.
Just do it.
Just do it. And
Do
find, and
something.
my one thing to say is find simple ways to incorporate it, because whatever you do at 5, they're going to expect when they're 10. And when you now have, like 5 kids instead of 2, it's a lot harder to do these big elaborate things, unless that's your
Right.
thing. Like
Unless it's your
I
thing.
I know there's moms that like they love doing the fun food and crafty stuff, and that is like their lifeblood, and they do a fantastic job, and I love seeing what they do because it's always something fun. But I also
Right.
recognize that that's never going to happen in my house because
Yes.
we just can't. One other thing that we've done that's helped us is we have a little, with like basically a shelf essentially, and we keep it decorated for the month or the liturgical season. Like we have little peg dolls, and we'll put out whatever peg dolls for the month are there, and
Right.
a picture of saints or whatever, or something. At Lent we put out the bean jar, like it just lives there for Lent. And
Right.
Christmas we put out a nativity set. So there's little things. I mean, in a nativity set at Christmas time, that's living out the liturgical year, and
Right.
that's enough.
Right.
So
That like an
that's
Advent
good.
wreath. That's
Yeah,
enough.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, just say some prayers, learn about the saints, learn some catechism, read some
Go to-
Bible stories.
I
Yeah.
mean, what else can you do?
And
Yeah.
the thing I would add with all these different ideas is, I think what I'm hearing is common about all of us is that we don't do all those things every single day. So,
Right.
one day we do the Bible reading, and another day we're doing a liturgical celebration, and then another day we're doing this, and then 2 days we don't do much of anything except a morning prayer.
Right.
So I think it's important to just, like you said, Amy, keep it simple and spread it out and do what's doable, but
Right.
do something, because it should be something that our kids remember about our home. And
Right.
everybody always asks, how do you make your kids love the faith? And it's by making it a part of daily life, by not having it be this separate thing that's very foreign and distant, but just a very
Right.
familiar component to your family's lifestyle.
Right. And some things may be more important to one family, like certain feast days may be more important because like your kids are named after a particular saint, or you have a special devotion to this Mary, or you have, like this, like the rosary or whatever. And if you want to do something extra special for that and then not do anything for all the other stuff, that's fine. You know what I mean? It's okay.
It is good. Good.
We're going to save all of your energy for Advent. Go right on ahead,
Yes, especially if you've had a life event like an extended illness or a newborn or moving or any of that. It's okay to let that be it, right? Okay. So moving on to probably the single most common question we get as Catholic homeschoolers trying to help other Catholic homeschoolers is, what is the best curriculum program? The best. So ladies, what would you say to that question?
The one that gets done that you will do.
The one you
I have,
do.
yeah, I have a lot of best programs sitting up in my schoolroom right now. A lot of them didn't get used. Therefore, they are not the best programs for our family. They are lovely, wonderful, fantastic programs. They just aren't going to work for us right now. And that's okay. So the ones that gets done, that's the best one. And
That's the best
you'll
one.
probably have to readjust as you add more kids or learn about learning differences or have life events, and it will change. So the best is the one that you can do.
Very wise.
Ditto. Ditto.
That's it.
I mean, isn't that the truth though? I mean, the one that you use, the one that gets used is the best one. And then under that, the one that works for your kid's brain. And sometimes it's going to take 2 or 3 best ones to figure out which one is compatible with your kid's brain. And that's fine.
Yes.
That's
And the
totally
trick
fine.
with that is there's no way to know until you do it.
Right.
You can't just magically find the perfect fit for your family for what you're going to do, like Amy said, or for each kid and what's going to work for their brain. It is trial and error. It is
Right.
trying to figure out what's going to be a good fit. And I like to reframe that challenge because as homeschoolers, we agonize a lot, and I still do every year over what curriculum will work best this year for our family, for each kid, and what's going to be the best fit. And while we can look at that as a terrible burden, isn't it awesome that we can do that for our family and there's not a school district or a supervisor telling us you have to use this program, make it work.
Right.
We get to pick. We get to adjust and adapt to what our family's needs are. And we get to find something that is close to a good fit as we can, that's going to work that year. And like Amy said, it will change and things always change. But I think it can be so overwhelming to choose curriculum. And yet I think that can be a really good thing that we have so many wonderful options out there. So many resources that have been created specifically for homeschoolers. I will say I lean towards the ones that are specifically created for homeschoolers.
For homeschoolers,
Yes.
by homeschoolers.
Yes.
If you try to take a program that's classroom use designed and use it at home, it becomes very challenging in most circumstances.
Yeah.
But there's so much out there, and it's a gift to us to be able to sort through them and pick and choose. And you really do just have to dive in. You trust your mother's intuition and just try whatever you think might work.
I think when moms ask that, like, what is the best, is I think what they're asking too is, help me sort, help me sift through all of them. Like, you know what I mean? And, or like, help, do you know what I mean? Like, help me shop. What should I be looking for?
So what are some things you guys look for? Like what are some kind of common, like, I'm not going to look at something that's doesn't have this standard or whatever.
Like we said earlier, for homeschoolers, by homeschoolers is important. Sometimes we fudge that, but that's important. Something that has a long track record, that's been around for a while and that has been used by a lot of people. I mean, if my homeschool mentor whose kids are like in their 30s use this reading program, it's probably pretty solid, if the friend whose kids got the scholarship for this foreign language use this program, that's a good option too. Trying to find something that's Catholic or classically based for us is important. If you're not sure what type of homeschooler you are, one of those what type of homeschooler are you quizzes can be helpful, and it can help you kind of narrow down the types of programs that would fit you best. And then going to Jenny's mega list and saying, okay, it says I'm a traditional homeschooler, which ones fit that bill? Oh, it's these 3 or whatever. Or so figuring out those things you need, and then balancing out what your kids need and your availability. I had to outsource more things this year. I needed my kids to take some online classes, my older kids, so that I had more time to work with my younger kids. And so it's using the flexibility inherent in homeschooling to be able to kind of puzzle out the best pieces that will work for
Right.
your own personal homeschool.
Right. Mhm.
Smart.
Right. And ask moms who have been doing this a while.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Because if you ask a mom who's been doing this like 1 or 2 years, not that they don't have a good perspective, they do, but they're probably going to pick maybe something that's more popular. And is that the better program, or is it just the more popular program right now? Like all three of us have been doing this long enough where we've seen several programs already like grow in popularity and diminish. And then here's this bright new shiny one, and it's really popular for a couple of years and then it diminishes. And, like there's always this bright, shiny new one.
Right.
Yeah.
And
also,
all the new moms are using it. Like they're all using it and it's great and it's a joy to teach. But is it good?
and then another thing that reminded me of is look for something with longevity. It's
Right.
great if there's a great new shiny program out that you want to try, but is it going to still be available next year?
Mhm.
Will you be able to continue with that program in 5 years when your kid
Mhm.
hits 5th grade or whatever? Because if they have one, level out right now, but they don't have the other ones, you might be stuck. And then you have to replan your whole program the following year because that's all there is available. So
Right.
something with a long track record that's been used a
Right.
long time and has a plan going forward to get you wherever you need to be, whether that's to middle school, to high school, to graduation, is that going to be there and be available?
Reputable curriculum developers. You know what I mean? If they're brand new, right out of the gate, there's going to be kinks, like as a company, that they're going to have to work out.
Right.
And do you want to be throwing your hard-earned money into these programs where you're basically an experiment for them?
Not something we would recommend.
Or you could buy something from a program that's been around for 30, 40 years, or, 20, 30, 40
Right.
years, that people generally like and has a good reputation, then maybe that's where you want to shop first.
Right. I would echo that and say that to be able to look at a program and see where it's going
Mhm.
is really helpful. So if you have a program that has been around a while, you can see the progression of skills and knowledge as the kids go through it, even if you decide to switch programs at any point. But just to see that there's a goal, there's a purpose,
Mhm.
and the end goal is this, that can help you decide, do I want that end goal? Is that the type of education I want my kid to have? So I would definitely add that as well. And everything you guys said is what I would recommend as well. I think that longevity and really quality, especially in the skills-based
Mhm.
subjects. So
Mhm.
I would, my other recommendation would be for math and language arts.
Mhm.
Absolutely find something that's been tried and true, trusted, been
Absolutely.
around for a while, because those are those foundational skills, math skills, reading and writing and spelling and all that. If it's not been around for a while, or it's been around and fizzled, or not many people use it, there's a
Mhm.
reason for
Right.
that. And those skill-based subjects, I don't want to like be a fear monger, but I mean, you can mess those up and then your kid has to go back and start over because you never really got them a solid foundation. So those two subject areas are what I would look at in any program to see, okay, what are they using for math? What are they using for language arts?
Right.
And is this something that is going to have long-term success?
Right.
And educate my kids.
And that's where you're going to put the bulk of your money. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you want to invest in a better quality program for those skills-based subjects.
Right.
Because if you go for something cheaper, or look, I got this for free, like you're going to end up jumping to program to program to program to program. And then you're going to end up wasting time and more money than if you had originally purchased the better, reputable, reviewed program that was, a little bit more expensive.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I've seen families, like get down the road and then they have gaps that are, I mean, everybody has gaps, but they're like foundational gaps. You got to pay for tutors or more curriculum or whatever it is to help get your kid back. So definitely those reputable companies that have been around, that have kids already graduated through their programs for
Right.
many years, have been successful in their life is really key. Awesome.
Right.
Okay, let's throw out one more, maybe simpler question before we wrap it up. This one is, what do your kids do after schoolwork is done for the day? Because we all know that usually, especially in the early years, homeschooling doesn't take as long as a typical, especially elementary school day or even middle school day sometimes. What do your kids do when they're done?
Probably have a snack,
Yes.
like their
Always.
fourth snack,
Food. There's a theme.
their second lunch, their early dinner. Yeah, they probably they eat like when they're done. Sometimes my kids will have a chore they didn't finish, but usually it's their leisure time. It's their time to decompress. And depending on when we finish, I mean, they have that time. And then right before my husband gets home, I usually have them do a tidy on the first floor. But that may not necessarily be right after they finish schoolwork. We may have finished schoolwork hours before we have to do a tidy. So it's their leisure time.
What types of leisure activities do your kids, find? Like a few examples.
I mean, we have a nice backyard, so it's a lot, and the weather is really beautiful right now. If the weather is beautiful, outside you go. Outside you go. But we let them play like Minecraft or something. Not the kind that's you can't play with outside people, like only the people in your network. And they're usually watching a show or whatever, a movie. We watch a lot. It sounds bad, but we do watch a lot of TV because our family really loves movies. My children know directors and like production companies and movie effects and tricks, and but we also read a lot of audiobooks, so it's like audiobook and movie kind of. So yes, we do watch a lot of TV, but that's because it's a
Family
deep
culture.
interest. Yeah, it's a deep interest of theirs. They're immersed in acting, drama, filmmaking, drawing, like all of that creative energy. I guess, all my children are dyslexic and they have a lot of creative energy. So it's not just like I want them to be zombies and I want them to be out of the way. It's because it really spurs like this genuine interest in them.
Cool.
So, I'm like, okay, read the book first.
What about your kids, Amy?
Most of my kids enjoy reading, so I think the lot I can find them, flipped upside down in a chair reading a book in the library a lot of times, which sounds fancy. Really, it's just a room with 2 chairs and a bookshelf, but we call it the library. So yeah. I have a kid who's really great with music, so he will go find a concerto to play on the piano or go strum a guitar. I have a couple kids who love being outside, so we'll go outside, and we're really blessed with where we live and the street we live on. Like, we've got neighbors down the street. They don't homeschool, but they have kids kind of the same age as ours, so the kids will go play outside and they'll walk up and down the street chatting with the neighbors, and all the kids will pile out in the street and have a water balloon fight or play hockey or whatever. We watch TV shows because it's a way to decompress, and then they can watch a show and I can cook dinner and not be talked at by 5 different people, which is quite nice. We have a afternoon snack time and tidy, and so if there's any jobs that need to be done, they get done then around snack time before we have a TV show. And if there's an activity, then they'll do that after school, a sport or a gathering with friends or what have you. And one of my kids has a job now, so he goes to work. I mean, he's done with school, and sometimes when he's not done with school, he goes to work. That's when he's scheduled.
That's the tricky life of teens.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. My kids just fill their time. I know when they were young and we would finish school, there was definitely like a learning curve of I had to figure out how to not entertain them all the time, even though kids want that, and they had to learn to occupy themselves. So go play didn't really work in the beginning as they were at different stages. They'd be like, I don't know what I want to do, but I said it enough and I shoved them outdoors, or I made, my kind of thing is I'll make 2 suggestions. We'll go build with blocks, or go color me a picture. And if they don't like my ideas, that's fine, but I gave them some ideas.
Mhm.
So teaching them to play on their own from a young age is an actual skill, and
That's
to play together. And then they
Mhm.
find their interests as they get older, and
Mhm.
Legos, or I mean, my boys, that's all they just pretty much, I'm done with school, I'm gonna go play Legos now. But
Mhm.
they'll play Legos, they'll go outside. We read audiobooks during that time as well. My teenagers, they have their own interests, so they have these projects they're working on. I don't know, they write novels and draw complicated scenery and whatever they're doing.
Mhm.
Music and reading books, a lot of reading books. We might take a walk or go to a park or something like that together. But especially at this season of life where my youngest is 8, I need my afternoons to do Heart of a Mother stuff or other things that I do. And so I kind of let them figure it out. And that just works for us. They do have evening activities. We have an activity almost every evening, not every kid every evening, but kind of rotates. So it's really only the time between like 1 or 2 and 4 or 5 that they're kind of occupying themselves. And then we have to do dinner and clean up and showers and all those
Right.
things. So.
Right. I think I think there might be this temptation. I guess I'm trying to think of like why someone would ask that kind of question, where it's like, especially like a new mom, and she discovers that all the subjects can get done in an hour or 2, and then she feels the need to occupy the time with like just educational, like high quality, super activities. Yeah, no.
Well, and I think that's an important distinction too, is that kids learn through playing. So the fact that because we homeschool, we have this great gift of this extra leisure time, it really is a gift for them to learn how to play and what to play and how to play and get along with others. It really is a gift for them to have that free time. And it's okay to not occupy every minute of their day. And with that, to help them occupy, like Jenny said, teach them what to do or give them options, but have stuff available for them to do. Have art supplies that you're okay with them doing. Have Play-Doh if you're okay with that. I was not okay with that for like 10 years. We're okay with it now. I gave up. Have board games, have card games, and occasionally play them with them so they kind of know the rules and how it's supposed to go, because they are not going to read the instruction booklet that came with the game. Most kids are not going to do that. So if you can set that up ahead of time, like Stacy did with the movies, it becomes kind of your family culture and a family interest. And then that's something they can do when they do have that free time and you're not free.
Right.
Yes,
right.
Definitely.
Right. Or like there's like this perception too that homeschoolers, that we're all like, I don't know, none of us use the television, and I don't know, we're only listening to classical music while, our children are doing prairie handicrafts that they've learned from reading Little House on the Prairie. And I don't know, like I'm trying to think of like, what they would ask, but I'm like, we're normal too.
Yes. No,
You know what I mean?
definitely.
We do
That's a really good
do
point.
normal things.
Yes. And that, similarly to the discussion on Catholic living, you do what works for your family and whatever you enjoy. So maybe your family does like handiworks and handicrafts, and that's your thing, and you get those supplies and teach your kids how to do them. Or maybe you guys are gardeners and you spend time, growing or raising animals. Or we do as homeschoolers have that amazing flexibility to be able to pursue those interests, both when they're young and teaching them how to play with one another, but also as they get older into middle school and high school and kind of explore some of those career oriented things that might, be a long-term option for them. So they have time to figure those things out rather than every minute of every day being scheduled. The other thing I will add is if you have an only child, or maybe it's just your oldest child and babies that you're trying to occupy, I think it is reasonable to plan something. I remember planning like one little thing each day that we would do. And it might be going to a park, or it might be baking cookies, or it might be just story time, or it might be just watching a show, but kind of having something to break up that day and something for them to look forward to, and for you to know that you had done something or provided, even if it's just, hey, I have this new craft or this new game and let's just explore it. Creating those opportunities is more important when it's your oldest and your only child, because they don't have a sibling to play with or even to model playing. So I'd add that detail.
Right. And when they're little, like going to the grocery store is like an adventure,
Yes.
because I mean, when they're little, like everything is wondrous, everything you do is wondrous, and they're just like, oh, yay. And I mean, it's precious. It's precious.
It is. Excellent. I think that that question probably would be most common with families who had been in a school setting, a traditional school setting, classroom, and then they're coming home to homeschool and they're like, we have all this time. But I think everything that we've shared really applies, where in the beginning, you're going to have to help them figure out what to do with their time. But your goal is for them to explore their own interests, for them to just have fun, for them to play, for them to do all these, just enjoy the gift of this time that they can do whatever they want to.
I'm glad you said that, because it reminded me too, like, even if the kid's a little bit older, like 4 or 5, they may still need a nap.
Yeah. Mine does.
Like in the afternoon.
Right.
Or they may need, I know we've had like de-stimulation time where they're just in a quiet room, listening to a book or just playing quietly. Like that can be a really important thing in your homeschool.
Yes, we had quiet time for many years after they didn't nap anymore because of that, definitely.
For them, for you, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Don't discount the quiet time.
Right. And to keep the house quiet for the baby who is napping, maybe if there's another one, and those kind of things. It's another good skill to teach them to do things quietly. That's one of the things I love about homeschooling is we get to be with our kids all day and we get to teach them all these other things that you might not have otherwise been able to, just given the lack of time with them. So awesome. These are some good responses, ladies. Thank you for answering them. And we try to do these Q&A sessions periodically. It's been a while since we've done one, so I was super excited to do one tonight. But I just wanted to say thank you, ladies, for coming and answering questions. And thank you to all the mamas who sent questions in and posted things. Do you have anything to add in closing, Amy or Stacy? Put you on the spot. Look at them now. Not just one negative. Okay. Making sure that I didn't cut you off at any point. Excellent. Good. Well, and if you have more questions, obviously the Heart of a Mother Facebook group asks questions every day. That's what we are. You can search questions. You can ask questions. If you have a more personal question that's a trickier thing, or a more specific question that's drilling down to what your family should or should not do, that might be the time to call us at Bloom Homeschooling. You can go to bloomhomeschooling.com and sign up to visit with Amy or Stacy or me, and we will chat with you one-on-one about whatever it is that you're struggling with or wondering about in regards to your homeschooling. And we are there for a one-time call, or we can talk every week if you prefer. So check out bloomhomeschooling.com for those really nitty-gritty one-on-one kind of what is best for my family. Because while our group is a wealth of information, there's a lot of different perspectives. And as we've said, what works for your family is sometimes hard to figure out when you see all these different ideas. And that's what we're here for, is to help steer you down the funnel and figure out what is most likely to work for you and your kids. So thanks again for joining us. If you don't mind clicking like and subscribe on this YouTube video, that would help me out to get more videos, and then we'll be able to make more videos and we'll get more questions answered and have more fun chatting with these lovely ladies. So may God bless all of you. And I just pray that your homeschooling journey would be full of joy and grace. Bye for now.